Writer Media Group original.
Welcome to the Versed Podcast, a daily pursuit to become more perceptive to what the Bible says. My name is John. Welcome in. Today we're reading from the book of Mark chapter 10, verses 46 to 52. Let's dive into it. We're dropping into history and the time where we're following Jesus and his disciples in his ministry and travels from Galilee to Jerusalem. So just kind of picture that journey and what that looks like. They are starting off on an 85-mile hike, and they stop outside the city of Capernaum, and they stop there long enough for Jesus to teach about divorce and welcome the children to come to him. And then they go back on the road again. They run into the rich young ruler, and Jesus tells them about how difficult it will be for the wealthy to enter the kingdom of heaven. And Jesus goes on to explain, like he has multiple times before, that he will be arrested and beaten and killed once they get to their final destination of Jerusalem. But they keep going. And along the way, James and John, they ask a special favor of Jesus. Doesn't make them popular with the other disciples, but Jesus takes that opportunity to teach them how those who would be great must become servants of all. And Jesus exemplifies that in the most perfect ways. And even with the question that he asks today and that we read about from this story, you can just see Jesus for who he really is. So they come to Jericho, which is quite literally a turning point in their travels. Jericho is where you stop going south and head west back over the Jordan River. And they're about 20 or so miles southwest of Jerusalem, which is about a day and a half away from their destination. And they've made the turn. They've come through the city of Jericho, and then they meet a blind beggar, Bartimaeus. And that's where we pick up in today's verses. So let's read Mark chapter 10, verses 46 to 52. Then they reached Jericho, and as Jesus and his disciples left town, a large crowd followed him. A blind beggar named Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, was sitting beside the road. When Bartimaeus heard that Jesus of Nazareth was nearby, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." "Be quiet," many of the people yelled at him. But he only shouted louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me." When Jesus heard him, he stopped and said, "Tell him to come here." So they called the blind man. "Cheer up," they said. "Come on, he's calling you." Bartimaeus threw aside his coat, jumped up, and came to Jesus. "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked. "My rabbi," the blind man said, "I want to see." And Jesus said to him, "Go, for your faith has healed you." Instantly the man could see, and he followed Jesus down the road. Yeah, this is a powerful story. A miracle took place as part of Jesus' ministry on the way to Jerusalem, the final one. And it's important. It's not the headline on the page, but it's almost in the fold of the page before we get to the pinnacle moment where the story of Jesus takes over. But here's what actually stood out to me as I was reading. Did you hear it too? It's the question that Jesus asks the blind man when he was finally able to come to him. "What do you want me to do for you?" Maybe that reads like a simple phrase, like if someone comes up to you and says they want to see you and you're like, "Yeah, what do you want? Can I help you?" But what makes this question so amazing to me is that Jesus, the Son of God, already has the power to know the answer to that question. He could have walked right up and healed him, no questions asked. But he asks directly, "What do you want me to do for you?" It's the same question that he asked James and John when they asked if they could sit at his right and left hand in the kingdom. And it's the same question that Jesus is asking you. What do you want me to do for you? Picture he's sitting right next to you and asking the question now. What will you say? He wants to do that for you. And if you ask in faith, you will receive in faith. If we read on in this narrative, Bartimaeus joins the others who are following Jesus. He goes from sitting beside the road in his blindness to believing in faith to being healed to following Jesus along the road to Jerusalem that also means the road to the cross. It's a powerful story, a powerful question. One that I actually want to sit down and actually take the time to answer and allow God to do that thing for me and believe in faith that He will and that He can. So I'll ask it again, and this can be our point of reflection today, what was revealed. Jesus is asking, what do you want me to do for you? Take the next minute or so or think about that, pray about that, meditate on that, and then we'll talk on the other side. A poignant question from Jesus. What do you want me to do for you? I hope you were able to answer that question and that you're able to be intentional about what you want Jesus to do for you, because He is ready and waiting and willing, and that if you ask in faith, you will receive in faith. Thank you for listening to the podcast today. I hope you are growing in your faith through it, that you are encouraged, and that you are developing the foundation that you need to get through this crazy storm that is our life, a storm that won't end until we see Jesus again, but a storm that we will weather as we grow in our knowledge of His Word, become more attuned to it, and that we grow in our faith. So thank you for being here today. If you wouldn't mind leaving a rating and a review on the podcast, it helps it grow. All the resources you need to grow deeper in your faith are linked in the episode notes, as well as a link to my social media. So check that out. Make hope louder today, my friends. We'll talk tomorrow.